Jesse La Greca is on the line with Occupy Wall Street in New York City. Hey, Jesse, what's up?
Hey, Tom. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. I just got back to New York yesterday night, and I'm here at Zuccotti Park for the first time in about a week and a half, and I'm stunned. It is beautiful. It's just transformed in the last week and a half, and I'm really encouraged by the amount of compassion and hard work people are willing to put in for their future. You know, it's something that we should all be proud of.
That's great. By the way, your website, Jesse La Greca, LAGRECA.com, and Occupy Wall Street, you can find a million different ways. Occupy Wall Street. Whatever it is, org, I think. But a New York Police Department spokesman told Salon that they are not sending homeless people and drunks down to Zuccotti Park. On the other hand, we're getting reports, anecdotally, reports in the field of police officers walking up to alcoholics and schizophrenics saying, hey, you want some free food? Go down to Zuccotti Park. And on the third hand, if it really is a people's movement, the alcoholics and psychotics among us are part of the people. So, what's the story with all this?
It's really difficult because I believe it is all of our responsibility to feed the hungry. At the same time, we do not have the resources here to care for people the way they really should be cared for. I mean, they've fallen through the cracks in the social safety network, and those cracks are now being rent open so that it can be even worse. So as much as I think we should try to do our best to feed and care for everybody, the real care that they need in the homeless community, it is available other places. So I think our job is to help facilitate them to get the care from the sources that are most capable of tending to them. It's a very fine balance. What really frustrates me is the people who could care less about the homeless are the ones that want to bring this issue up, and I think they're doing it to exploit the terrible situation in society the homeless are in, because they really are the original occupiers. And I think it's our duty to help them as much as we can, but we need to understand that there are better resources for them to utilize other than the Wall Street kitchen. So it's a very fine balance to try to find the right thing to do, but we're trying our best to do the right thing.
Louise was just pointing out to me that 1 in 6 humans on Earth right now is a squatter, that the women's movement in Germany was a squatter movement, that the bonus army in the 1930s and 1932 that led right to the Franklin Roosevelt Revolution, to his election in the Revolution, was a squatter movement. From the lawn of the White House down to the Potomac River, 45,000 people. That squatter movements have actually a long and noble history as part of political protest and not to mention survival. Most favelas, most slums around the world are actually squatters. What's the legal status of Zuccotti Park right now, and where is this going? And how are I remember last week there was the news about how the police came in and took away the generators just as the snowstorm was arriving. What's the status of the ability to survive the winter?
You know what? I keep telling people that if 30,000 penguins in Antarctica can get through the winter, I'm sure some intelligent people in 2011 can figure it out. I actually just passed by a bicycle generator here at Occupy Wall Street. I saw one of them up in Occupy Boston as well. And that's just one way that ingenuity will overcome all the adversity being thrown our way. At the same time, you know what? Today we have a tent city now. I didn't see this when we first came back, and I'm encouraged by it. I think that the people who are putting roadblocks in front of us want this to go away. They don't want us to have an honest conversation about the future. They don't want us to have an honest conversation about the financial bribery of our elected officials or even the lawlessness that's taking place in the private sector. So, you know what? If they're going to try to take our generators away, we'll figure out one way or another to get around this, because we're in this for the long haul. Yeah, well, just like Herbert Hoover didn't want to have a discussion of 45,000 people camped on the White House lawn all the way down to the Potomac. I'm curious, Jesse. We just got this tweet from Occupy Oakland. This is just a few hours ago. The Occupy Oakland General Assembly has passed a proposal to encourage the occupation of bank-owned / foreclosed and abandoned properties across Oakland. Now, this seems like a reasonable strategy for the winter. B, there have been movements in various places. Detroit's probably the most well known for it, where people have just occupied deserted properties and turned them into places that can be like little local community centers kind of things. Any talk about doing that in New York? I just got here on the ground. I love Occupy Oakland, by the way. I was just there the other day, and I'm really encouraged by the solidarity that I've seen there, especially considering the police violence. Let's look at it like this. A lot of these homes that were foreclosed on were foreclosed on fraudulently. The banks literally cannot prove who owns the mortgage because they were spliced and diced up with credit default swaps and other financial vehicles. So you know what? If it means that we need to take back that which was taken away from us illegally or inequitably, then I'm for that. And really consider this, if people were not lied to, if people were not taken advantage of with the foreclosure scandal, then those homes would be occupied by paying tenants. Now, if those paying tenants were kicked out into the street, then yes, they should go take their homes back, because that's really what we're talking about. It's not about taking our country back. The country was ours already. This is about taking our future back. And if that means taking our homes back one at a time, maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah, and it's probably something that would work better in Oakland, which is largely residential, than in New York, which is so urban that the slicing and dicing of those mortgages might have been in individual condos or something like that. But, most people in Manhattan, I think, probably are renting. And so there may not be as much, at least on Manhattan Island.
Tom.
Go ahead.
I just saw something in the New York Post recently, maybe a month or so ago, that said that 92% of New York City residents who have had their homes foreclosed on, the financial institutions foreclosing on those homes, couldn't prove that they actually held the mortgage.
Right.
So you know what? It's not just Oakland. It's New York. It's all over America. The foreclosure scandal, the forged signatures, it's fraud.
Yeah.
And
I'm absolutely with you. I'm just saying.
I think it's more of a national thing than just Oakland or one place.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I'm just thinking in terms of logistics. Zuccotti Park is in Manhattan. I'll bet that probably 80% of that 92% that was phony foreclosures in New York was in the boroughs. Was in the Bronx and Brooklyn.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, because they tend to be single-family homes or duplexes or that kind of thing, rather than the kind of housing that you find in Manhattan. So Occupy Wall Street is doing well. Have you seen evidence that the NYPD is sending, alcoholics, drunks, schizophrenics down to you guys?
Well, I've heard stories about there being more than there had been in the past, so
Right.
I think that might be a bit of its own evidence. I also think that if that's how they're using their resources, that's deplorable. And, I've had a really hard time describing my experience with NYPD, because a couple of my good friends from childhood are current NYPD officers now. So it's frustrating for me. I don't want to lay the blame at their feet.
Sure.
But after the incidents that have taken place in other cities, such as Oakland and Denver, I'm going to start telling the truth a little bit more honestly, because I've been trying to protect those honest people in the police community.
Well, the fact of the matter is that the police have to answer to the civil authorities. And so I would say, in Oakland and Denver, talk to the mayor. Talk to the city council. If the police are misbehaving, they have to respond to the civilian authority. Now, obviously, there's always going to be a few rogue cops. Any situation where people are given power and authority. In the few seconds we have left, Jesse La Greca, what is the message you'd like our listeners to know about?
The message I'd like your listeners to know about is the message of economic justice and social justice. And I think it starts with the total lack of accountability for the wealthy people in power, the wealthy people in political power. The larger message I'd like to spend is that this is your occupation, too. This is your protest, too, even if you're not personally involved. We're fighting for your pensions. We're fighting for better pay. We're fighting for your retirement and for your education. And
there you go.
There you go.
You got it.
Corporate personhood,
hang on just a second.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Okay, finish your sentence, Jesse, real quick.
Just long and short, I just want to tell everybody who's listening, this is your protest as well, whether you're participating or not. We're getting this for you.
Jesse, thank you very much.